The employment issue you mentioned is a little bit technical, but it's really important. It's important for the Fed in a way that I understand you're not going to talk about. But it's important for all kinds of policymaking, which is our unemployment rate has basically done this, right, from the audience's perspective. It's fallen. A percentage of adults working basically in the crisis did this, and since then has done, working has done this, right? There's almost no recovery in the percentage of adults who are employed in this country. You alluded to that a little bit. Mm-hmm. If you simply look at, well, how much of that is because we have more people who are 70 years old than we used to because of the aging of the baby boomers, you see it has some little effect on that. But you seem to think there are other things going on than just that. Can you talk about that? Because that affects every decision that an economic policymaker makes. And even if you don't want to talk about it, it has an enormous impact on how quickly the Fed undoes their emergency measures.
Yeah. If you look, the labor force participation rate, that's the number of people who are either working or they're actively looking for a job, has fallen by 3 percentage points since the beginning of the recession to now. And it's continued to fall even as the economy recovered. A lot of this is because two really big things happened at once. Both of them happened in 2008. One was a massive recession, and that tends to lower the participation rate. The other is the people who were born in 1946 turned 62 in 2008. They became eligible for Social Security benefits. And so that first wave of baby boomers, some of them, not all of them, started to retire. Those two things hit at once, and they both lowered our participation rate. As we recover, that first factor, the business cycle, is going to be moving in the other direction. It's going to be bringing people back into the labor market. But at the same time, that second factor, the aging, is going to continue to pull people out. And those two forces are going to be fighting with each other, and they're going to be roughly equal. Want to layer on top of the two of those, though, there was a lot going on even before 2008 that should actually concern us about people's participation in the labor force. If you look at prime age men, that's men between 25 and 54, their labor force participation rate has been falling since the 1950s, continuously for 60 years. If you look at women, there was a large influx of women into the workforce starting in the early 70s, going through 1999. Starting into 1999, women's labor force participation flattened and started to fall. So you had the recession, you had the aging of the population, and the two of them layered themselves on top of these trends that we already had. I think that presents a really important challenge for economic policy. I said before, figuring out how to have more technology, expand our potential, is one of the trickier questions in economic policy. The single easiest thing you can do, though, is get more people working, get more people into the labor force. And there's a lot of ingredients for that. People who, as they age, want to continue to work, what we can do to enable that. And I think the Affordable Care Act in some ways provides an incentive in one direction, in some ways provides help in the other. I think women's labor force participation is a really underappreciated issue in our economy, and we've grown too complacent about it. 20 years ago, we were higher than Europe, way higher than Japan. They've increased for 25 straight years. We've basically flattened out, and now most European countries have more women participating in the workforce than we do. Within a couple of years, at the rate it's going, Japan will have a higher fraction of its women participating in its workforce than we do. You ask why that is. The fact that we are one of the countries in the world that doesn't have paid leave, and the other country is Papua New Guinea. The United States, Papua New Guinea, the only two countries that don't have paid leave. I think that's part of it. The state of childcare in this country and a range of other things that we could do, not just recovering from the recession, but as we move beyond that to get more people into the workforce.